Action is direction. Once you start doing something, that's how you will know if it's something you want to pursue or not in the first place. Even when it comes to content, I'm obsessed with LinkedIn, and that's what I'm here to talk about with you.
Hey friends, welcome back to The Ugly Phase, where we talk about what it really takes to grow before it looks good on LinkedIn. Today's guest is someone who completely changed the way I think about content. Before I found her work, I felt totally lost with my own strategy. But Fatma Khan made it simple, not by being flashy, but by being clear, smart, and intentional. She's a top 5 LinkedIn creator in the UK. And she's built a full time business by helping founders, coaches, and creators turn thoughts into traction. In this episode, we talk about the invisible, ugly face of launching new offers, how to post on LinkedIn even if you're terrified of being seen, the systems that she uses to grow without burning out, and why commenting might be the most powerful and underrated strategy on this platform. If this hits, make sure you subscribe and follow The Ugly Face wherever you're listening or watching. Every week, we go behind the glossy headlines to bring you the messy, human, brilliant middle of the founder journey. Now, let's get into it. With that, I bring you Fatma Khan.
So, to introduce myself, my name is Fatima. I am a LinkedIn coach. I work with B2B founders, agency owners, coaches, consultants to grow their personal brands on LinkedIn, essentially by writing their thoughts simply and just getting the right attention that they deserve on the platform by storytelling and all other formats. I got ranked as top 200 female creators in the world on the platform of my
Wow.
first year of posting. So that was very quick. And eventually it led me to leave my 9 to 5 marketing job and pursue this full time. I'm currently ranked as top 5 creators based in the UK. And I'm obsessed with the platform. I'm obsessed with LinkedIn. And that's what I'm here to talk about with you.
Awesome. But first, our standard question. Have you already had an ugly phase in your own entrepreneurial journey? And if so, how did you get through it?
Love this question. First of all, the fact that it sheds light on a topic that's not very much talked about in the business world. Everybody talks about their wins. Even on LinkedIn, that's what you see. Everybody talks about their wins. But the stories that actually are are welcomed on the platform more, are loved on the platform more, are the ones that share the transformation. They share what has really taken, them to get to that win. And with that in mind, I think everybody goes through an ugly phase. I feel like it comes and goes. There are times, especially when I'm launching, I've had, since my business is fairly new, I have launched quite a few offers in a span of a year. And whenever I'm on in during that phase of launch, I think the ugly phase just persists. It's there unless you've gone through the launch phase and you've actually managed to get customers and promote your product or brand the right way. When you cross that line, when you cross that fence, I think that's when you can finally take a sigh of relief. So I've definitely gone through that phase of business where it got really tough, and I started doubting myself. I thought maybe I'm not good enough for I'm not good enough for what I'm doing. But I think that's the beauty of imposter syndrome. If you're not doing something
Yes,
new, if you continue to do the same job that you've done all your life, you'll never face imposter syndrome. So if you are facing imposter syndrome, that's a good sign. That means you're headed towards something new, you're doing something different. And I sort of chase that
I love
feeling
that
at this
angle.
point. It means that I'm on my way to learning something better, something different. So I think I sort of chase the ugly phase myself. I love learning, I love the challenge, and I love progressing from it. So I feel like the ugly phase comes and goes. Right now, I think I'm in a good place, but I do have another launch coming up, so I'm sure the ugly phase will rise. But yeah, it's something that just persists, and I sort of take it as a good challenge.
I love that angle. Just basically already like acknowledging that it's gonna come and also seeing it as a sign of progress versus the contrary.
100%, because it's times when things get tough that you actually then you're actually able to appreciate the good things, especially when I've only recently become a mom, and the progress of becoming a mom was so
Congratulations.
difficult, and that really made me realize how the good things actually come from a product of a series of really tough times. So I think that's only natural. It's going to happen in business as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think whenever you become a parent, your perception just changes
Oh,
completely.
bye, yeah.
Like, you get completely different priorities, and it's just everything freaking changes. And I think the funniest part is that none of us actually qualified from the very beginning to be a parent, right? But we figured it out anyways.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, there's such lack of knowledge in this area. Like how am I made responsible over over a tiny human being?
Right.
It's so overwhelming. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's so much that you learn when you become a parent, and and the fact that you realize you had so much time before. I feel like I don't have any time
I
left
know,
for
right?
myself at all. So whatever little time I get for my business, I want to make sure I'm like the most productive in those hours.
That's not a really good angle. So I have two kids, and they're still pretty small. They're 4.5 and 2.5. So I know I
Oh,
have to
that's
like
great.
be at my 200% during the day because there is absolutely nothing I can't or even want to do in the evening. So I think it also like gives you some certain boundaries that you just have to follow.
That is so true. So it sort of makes you a better business person because you then understand what's at stake. It has definitely helped me in that aspect. Like when I'm working, I make sure that I'm so focused because I'm sending my child to nursery and he's away from me during that time. So I want to make sure that I'm at my best. So it sort of motivates me to work even harder.
Exactly. A former colleague of mine was just because I just made an announcement that I'm gonna launch something. Was like, "How are you feeling?" Blah blah. I was like, honestly, excited and terrified at the same time. But I also know that failure is not an option because I have two kids. Like I know I'll give it this 300%. So if I do fail, which of course like could be plausible, at least I wouldn't regret it because I would know that I've actually tried my best.
Beautiful. Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's a great way to perceive failure as well. That if you have given your best and things haven't worked out, at least you know that you did your best. So the outcome really doesn't matter. It's what you are putting into it. So that's a beautiful way to look at it.
Thank you. But let's get back to the ugly stuff versus beautiful stuff. So, when your clients or when your potential clients reach out to you, is it usually coming from a place of like, holy shit, don't know what to do? Maybe LinkedIn could be a thing. Or is it more so, hey, it's already doing great. Like, let me amplify that?
It's mostly the former than the latter. A lot of people don't understand the potential of LinkedIn, but they see so many people have now started posting about their stories and sharing their how it has aided their business. So most people who come to me have not really worked on their brand and they want assistance. They want to know how to get started. They have a great offline presence and they want to have some reflection of that online and which I think is great, but at the same time, quite a few back out and they're too afraid to take that leap. So I think part of my job as a coach is to motivate them to actually take that step forward and then also give them the right tools and resources. So in a way, it's really good that people are recognizing the potential of personal branding and LinkedIn as a tool to be able to do that. But at the same time, I think there's so many people who are still afraid to take the leap to start building their presence online. I don't know, maybe they're afraid of their past colleagues because I've been there too. I would sympathize with them at that. There was initially I wanted to start creating my brand much earlier than I actually started because I was afraid of the judgment that I would receive. I had about 700 connections at the time. Most of them were my past colleagues, my ex-employers, and I was quite afraid of what they would think when I started, putting my thoughts out there. But you just have to dive in. Once you start winning, nobody's
Just do
judging.
it.
And you will obviously go through a phase of learning, but eventually your progress will receive the rewards. And with And especially when you're working with somebody who is an expert on LinkedIn, you will definitely be in a much better position than, starting off on your own.
Yeah, I could not agree more with that because I mean, for me, it was very similar journey. Like, I actually was afraid of launching something, and I was like, you know what? Let me just like put content out there because this like the least thing that could hurt me, sort of, right? If I'm just writing, if nobody notices it, no problem, right? But I'm glad that I did what I did. So I was like I was telling you in the prep about a year ago I launched this podcast. It was actually like a half measure for not launching the product in the first place. But I'm freaking glad I did it because now I have. I mean, I'm not a LinkedIn influencer or anything of that kind, but at least I have developed a little bit of credibility in the space, which now paved the way for me to finally launch the product. Which is like I'm feeling great about it, and I'm constantly telling the founders that I work with, come on, it's only going to unlock more potential for you. Like this could not go wrong unless you're posting some super ridiculous stuff, but come on.
And yeah, if you're not comfortable with sharing your story, you can share, you know, educational content, things about your job or your industry that other people might find very useful. You can share, AI is a hot topic. If that's something that you do in your space of business, any AI related news with respect to your industry, because LinkedIn prioritizes industry related topics. If you're sharing industry news, it prioritizes that. So you're in a good space anyway. So once you start talking about what's happening in your industry and you start contributing in that lens, a, your content is going to get prioritized by the platform, and B, you're building credibility, you're building trust by people who are following you, who are connected with you, that you know things in your industry, you know what's happening in this space. And and see, you're getting visibility. So if anybody, wants to connect with someone in that space, in that industry, they're going to think of you as a thought leader. So there are only going to be good things coming your way if you start posting your thoughts out there. And it doesn't have to be stories, it doesn't have to be anything personal about your life. And I think that's what I struggled with. I thought that maybe I have to start talking about myself, I have to get personal in order to build a presence. But that's such a common myth about personal branding. It's not really got anything to do with you. It has to do with what value you are providing to your audience. So once you shift the spotlight, I think you will feel much less pressured as well, that you don't really have to get personal, you don't really have to do anything that you're not comfortable with. And and personal branding is honestly all about your audience. It's all about shifting that focus. It's all about giving them the lens. And secondly, something that I want to talk about is the fact that you mentioned how you started this podcast when you were actually doing something else. This is what I tell everyone who I work with, that action is direction. Once you start doing something, that's how you will know if that's if it's something you want to pursue or not in the first place. Even when it comes to content, just start posting. Pick a topic that you like, and then from there, when you start creating content, you're going to receive feedback, and that action is going to help you get the direction that you eventually should be leading towards. So it's really important to get started, to make that first move.
I think the question that a lot of people have and that I sometimes struggle to answer is, okay, I've started posting. I'm getting like very small reach and almost like non existent engagement. How do I know
Yeah.
what's wrong? Like, is there an answer to that? Like, is there a generic answer to the question, or does it more so depend? Like, is it more so person by case scenario?
Should be receiving low reach and low impressions because you're just starting out. So it's only natural that you are going to go through that phase of no engagement, no reach and impressions. Also because, number one, that's how the algorithm works. You have not been posting content, so the algorithm is not going to prioritize your content on the feed. It's going to prioritize content of people who are very consistently posting, who are consistently getting good engagement. So if you've just opened up a new shop on the block of, in on the road of so many other superstores in the market, and then you're just somebody who's just opened up a new store over there, of course at first you're going to receive low customers, you're going to receive low eyeballs. But and that's only natural. So I think one important aspect to get visibility on LinkedIn is actually not through posting. You can start getting visibility through engagement. So even before you start posting, I would suggest that you start engagement on the platform. You start building up
Or like commenting?
visibility. Yeah, with comments. So comment under posts of peers in your industry who are already active on the platform. Build a rapport with them of some sort, and then when you start posting, it's going to get you better engagement. It's going to get, your content is going to get suggested to people who you have been engaging with. Apparently, as per the algorithm, if you have exchanged direct messages with someone, the likelihood of them seeing your content increases massively. So start engaging on the platform first, start building those connections, because LinkedIn is, at the end of the day, a networking platform. So if you want any sort of visibility, you have to start, you have to start networking with people. So a huge part of your problem could get resolved if you start engaging on the platform as opposed to simply posting. And then secondly, you have to keep posting to really figure out what's working for you or not. Feedback is really important. So number one is, as I said, engagement. You have to network in order to receive in order to receive engagement back. You have to give engagement in the first place. And then secondly, you have to test out content. You have to see what's working for you or not. You have to really keep a close eye on the feedback on your analytics, which post performed well, which did not. And that's how I started. And essentially that's how I started as well. Initially, I was posting a lot on about marketing. As I was a 9 to 5 social media marketing person, I was talking more about marketing campaigns and things like that. And eventually, when I became a LinkedIn coach, now my entire content is about LinkedIn and how you
Right.
can grow your presence there, and about personal branding. So like I said, action is directions. Just start posting, and the feedback that you're going to receive, it's going to guide you on how you should move forward.
But say if you're not receiving any feedback, like say, I don't know, you get like, I don't know, 300 impressions and barely any likes. Like, should you take that as a sign of invaluable content, or maybe that's a sign of that you not having the right audience for the content that you're
Yeah.
producing?
So my suggestion for that would be your action plan needs to include a couple of things. Number one, you need to start getting active on LinkedIn outside of just posting. So start engaging with others. Go and follow people within your industry who are doing really, really well, or um so create a list of three categories. People who are really good in who are performing really good in terms of impressions, engagement, and go and give them a follow. Then second list should be people who are in the same, I think, numbers as you, who have the same amount of followers, who are receiving the same amount of engagement. And then the third list should be people who you want to work with. So you want your efforts to actually result in something valuable. You want people who you're actually targeting to come towards your profile as well. So make a list of them as well. And with that, the first thing you need to do is start getting visible on the platform. Start commenting on people within your industry who are performing really well. How that helps is that you're going to get visibility from leaving comments under their posts, and people who are following them would potentially be your customers because they're in the same industry as you. So they're going to they're going to see your profile through your comments, and eventually visit your profile, see your content, and engage with it as well. And then the second thing you need to do is you need to learn from the people who are performing really well. What's different about their content versus your content? Because a lot of times we think we are putting out something very valuable, but LinkedIn has certain, I would say, a certain way of a certain type of content that gets consumed by LinkedIn is liked by the people on LinkedIn. For example, for a very long time, video content was just not well received on the platform. And I think this is the year that they have revamped it and they're testing it out by giving it an unfair advantage. You know, the reach on videos is insane right now because this feature is being tested by LinkedIn. So for a long time, video was just not the best format to create. But and if perhaps you would be posting something very valuable in the form of video, it would not perform because people preferred consuming content in a text format. Currently,
Mhm.
infographics are performing really, really good. So you have to see what sort of content is being consumed sort of content is being preferred by the audience on LinkedIn. So in order to learn that, there's a really cool tool called Clio. So install that as a Chrome extension. Go to top creators in your industry and get a sense of what their best performing posts have been in the past, what kind of topics they're talking about, and try to bring your own element to it on your own profile. So I think a lot of times we don't understand what our audience really wants to see from us. So if you're
Mhm.
not getting any reach, it's not that your content is not valuable. It's just that your audience does not want to see that. So you will have to make that pivot. You will have to figure out what's working on the platform and adapt to it.
What part, like some people say, okay, if my reach is so low, there is like no way for me to improve it. Should I be sending messages to people? Do you think that's a good tactic or not really?
Not really. I wouldn't recommend that. If your reach is low, so that means you're not getting your content is not getting shared enough. So one way to improve your reach is to create shareable content. If that's the goal that for you at the end of the day, um there are a few ways that reach of a post gets pushed, and one is if you're, like I mentioned, if you're creating shareable content, the number of people who repost your posts, your reach is going to go up from that. And secondly, what I've noticed, if people outside of your community, outside of your first and second degree connections, start commenting under your posts, that is a great way to boost your reach. So, in order to get more engagement, as I mentioned earlier, you need to start giving more engagement. So, start engaging with people outside of your first and second degree connection list. Start engaging with people who are your third degree connections. And if you start commenting under their posts, they're likely going to reciprocate and comment back and see your content. So that's a great way to create visibility on the platform. And if you do that, if any third degree connection comes and leaves a comment under your post, that gives LinkedIn a signal that this person's content is valuable. People outside of their network wants to engage with it, and that's how your reach is going to get boosted. So it's very strategic on how you have to go about it. Reach is not going to be handed out to you just because you've posted something valuable. You need to post something which is also shareable, and at the same time, you are making the effort to call in people towards your profile. So if I may share a story, for the first 5 months of my, I know that I mentioned I very quickly grew on the platform. I was ranked top 200 female creators in the world in my first year of posting. But only the first 5 months of my content journey were miserable. I was not getting any engagement. I was not receiving my posts. I thought I was putting out very valuable stuff. I thought I was talking about things which would really benefit someone. I was literally pouring out all the knowledge that I had, and in return, crickets. I would hardly get like 5 comments on a very good day, 500 impressions on a very good day. But then I realized I should stop expecting people to come and reach out to me and start finding them. And that's when I turned towards, I got active on the platform. I started finding, people who would be interested in engaging with me. I started
Uh-huh.
connecting with people who from my industry, and I started, posting really valuable comments under their posts. And that's how I became visible on the platform. So in order to earn a seat on the table, you have to, reach out to people in the first place. So I think that's essentially the best growth hack on LinkedIn, that you become active on the platform. And most recently, LinkedIn has also released the feature that you can track the number of impressions your comments are receiving. And it's amazing the power that comments really have. My comments receive up to 1,000 impressions on a daily basis. So imagine if I'm posting, my posts generally get about 15,000 impressions. So if I'm receiving 1,000 impressions from one comment, and if I somehow end up leaving 100 comments in one day, which would take me about 60 minutes, my reach for the day would actually be 100,000 impressions more than my 15,000 impressions that I'm
But
getting from
do
my
they have
post.
to be like thoughtful comments or could just be like, great post?
They definitely you have to make an effort when it comes to comments, because we're talking about visibility here. So in order to really stand out on the feed, you have to disrupt the feed. You can use humor. Humor is a great way to get attention. People connect with humor as well. Or you could just, start pouring your expertise. So you need to treat comments as mini posts, as
Mhm.
something that you would post on your own profile, because you have to understand the potential of you getting seen through your comment is massive. You can easily get more than 1,000 impressions just through commenting on somebody else's post. So I know it can be very time consuming that way. So you need to prioritize
Right, you need
who
to
you're
find
choosing to
balance.
comment under. If you're, for example, if your goal is to land more clients, then start engaging with more people who you would want to potentially work with. Or if your
Mhm.
goal is to grow a following, a community, then start engaging with more people who already have massive community on the platform. So it really depends on what your goal is, and then you just prioritize from there. You can by all means leave great posts and things like that on random posts, but also at the same time leave at least 50% valuable comments and make your day count.
Is it true that you should only comment on like the posts that were recently published, like in the last 24 hours or something like this?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I actually, I'll tell you what happens. The LinkedIn algorithm definitely prioritizes fresh content on the feed. And with me, for example, I average about 500 likes per post. The first 250 likes, the first 50% of that I get in the first 30 to 60 minutes. So the first
Oh,
hour of
wow.
your post
Okay.
going live is really critical in how it's going to perform for the next 24 hours or 48 hours. So I think your post performs well for only 48 hours after going live. After that, you need to post something else to keep your content fresh, your profile fresh. Um, After that, you're not going to see that much engagement. And on top of that, the first hour of your post going live is so critical because that's just how the LinkedIn algorithm works. It's going to push your post in the first 30 to 60 minutes to the most number of people, to at least 50% of the people who are going to see it. Um, so when your post goes live, a good activity that you can follow it with would be that you stay on the platform, you reply to any comment that you receive, and at the same time you start dropping comments on other people's feed, because that way you're going to bring traffic all the more outside of what the algorithm is going to push out. So I think the first 60 minutes are definitely really important, and I don't check comments after the first 60 minutes because I think that's the most number of comments I'm going to receive. After that, it really slows down. So it's really important that you make sure that you utilize the first 60 minutes of your post going live to the best capacity.
I see. I think another topic that people are worried about is all of those AI tools. I mean, sometimes when you see like those major creators on LinkedIn, you can tell that a bunch of comments under it are made with AI. Like there are literally
Yeah.
either some phrases or very similar phrases, or it's like follows the same pattern. Like,
Yeah.
what do we do with it?
Yeah, and sometimes, they have you can very easily spot if there's an AI comment. But I think I personally don't have a problem with AI comments. I have a problem with people being lazy with AI comments. If you are leaving an AI comment, at least make it sound like you and not like AI,
Right.
because
Hmm.
you have the potential to prompt AI to sound like you. So if you are, I think um, that's something that people need to change. If you are using AI, then at least customize it to make it become more like you. Make an effort outside of it. So I quite support AI tools. I think there's so much potential with AI. I use it so much in my content creation process. It has made such a difference. It has really brought down my content creation time massively. I think it used to take me in a day's time, I would do about two posts. I would write content for the next 2 days, but now I can write a week's long content because I'm using AI. So it has really brought efficiency in my own content creation process. And I think it all comes down to how you are utilizing it. Are you being lazy with AI, or you are
Right.
actually making an effort with it?
Yeah, I totally agree because for me, it's like, I mean, I obviously use ChatGPT to do like brain dumps and just like, talk it out.
Yeah.
Then, because without it,
Uh-huh.
like, same as you, I would spend like hours trying to get through the noise in my head just to like find what is exactly that I want to talk about. And I think there is definitely value in those, I don't know, they're called commenting tools. It's like, sure, it's like some people just don't have that much time in a day to like go for an hour, engage in comments. And we know that if you don't engage in comments, well, your content is not going to be seen. It's like, part of the game, sort of. So for me, it's like I have the same outlook as you. I think those tools can be used because it's like you against the system type of thing. But like you said, the main point is making it actually thoughtful. Like if there is a way to fine tune this and actually make it sound like the real person instead of like sometimes you just see them one by one. It's like the same
Yeah.
thing. They're saying the same thing. It's like, come on, guys.
Exactly. And at the same time, I would add that to avoid using automation tools because they can get you banned on LinkedIn very quickly. So if you are using AI to comment, but make sure that you're not using automation tools. And honestly, it takes so much longer to use AI for commenting. The fact that you have to copy paste a post and ask it
Yep.
to craft your comment, just write whatever comes to your mind. That's the best way to I think uh, being authentic is the best way to build a community when you are actually letting people see your own personality. And for that to happen, just write how you talk. You don't have to think too much about it. Just make sure that you are, being yourself when you're commenting instead of trying to be something to come across really good, but it's actually damaging your reputation. So just be yourself is what I would say. It's such a hassle to use AI for this purpose, but I don't know, people do resort to it. I think that's why they're being these lazy. That's why they leave all these lazy AI comments.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, do you think for anybody who wants to like engage into building personal brand on LinkedIn, etc., there needs to be a goal? Like they need to know what the end game is, or is it more like let's test it out?
Love that question because I'm so passionate about it. I think it's so important to have a why when you're building your presence on LinkedIn. And it does not have to be a very, solid why. You don't need to have your entire vision mapped out. It could be something,
Right.
it could just be a gut feeling that this is why you want to do it. For example, when I first started building my personal brand on LinkedIn, my reason was to get industry access. I wanted to connect with more marketing professionals. And that when you have a strong why or any sort of why in the first place, it is going to impact what you're posting. It's going to have an impact on your content strategy. It's going to drive your content strategy. And if you don't have the right content strategy, you're not going to get the desired results. So if I didn't know why I was posting on the platform, I would be posting XYZ content. But since I knew I wanted industry access, I wanted to build a name in the marketing industry, I was creating a lot of content around that, and it was then getting me in front of the right people. Therefore, when I saw progress, that is how I was able to keep my journey going. If you're not going to um, have the right strategy, you're not going to see the right results, and that's something that could damage your entire motivation to post content in the first place. So I think it all comes down to you having some sort of idea as to why you're posting content in the first place, because that is what's going to drive your strategy, which is then going to get you to the desired results, which is so important to be able to get some sort of results to keep you motivated. And I think consistency is the bread and butter of growing a presence on any social media platform. You have to consistently show up, whether that is 3 times a week, 5 times a week, but you have to make that effort on a continuous basis. And you're not going to do that if you're not going to see results. So in order to see any sort of results that you desire, you need to have a why. So I think this is the number one thing you need to have figured out. It does not have to be a solid why. Your strategy can change, your why can change. My why changed eventually. I now post content on LinkedIn to build a community, to find clients. So I think my strategy has evolved as a result as well. But whenever you start posting, at least know why you're doing it, um, to be able to, make any sort of progress, I would say.
Absolutely agree with that. I think my wrap up question would be, since we have already talked about, the ugly things, do you have maybe a story, a client story that you would like to share, which was like a beautiful evolution? Because I think people also need some sort of inspiration.
Lovely. I have quite a few I would love to share. So I think my first ever client that I worked with, she, at the time, the coach is, I was still working as a 9 to 5 marketing person when I started offering my coaching services. So I was quite nervous jumping on the first coaching call ever. And I had that imposter syndrome. Am I even qualified to do this or not? Why is this person paying me $100 for an hour? I had all these thoughts in my mind, and I'm so sure that I did not complete my sentences, and I'm so sure that I made a lot of mistakes in that call. But I still remember receiving such a good feedback after that call. That person, since then, I still follow her journey on LinkedIn. We had this 1 hour call where I gave her all my LinkedIn secrets as to how I was able to build this massive presence on the platform, and all my understanding, I poured it out. And since then, this person she's grown so much on the platform. She has her own startup agency. She's got a VC startup agency. Her agency is pretty complicated to understand, but essentially she helps out investors to find clients on the platform herself. And since then, she has evolved so much. I've only seen her grow on the platform. In the very first week of our connection, she was able to double her following. And
Oh,
I
wow.
think that to this day, I share her case study with everyone. And she's one of the star cases that I worked on. And the fact that she was able to do that made such a good social proof for me to keep going. It motivated me so much that I have the right knowledge. It made me overcome,
Absolutely.
the imposter syndrome that I was feeling. I did, I was able to teach her the right things. And I think that only fueled me all the more to inspire more people, to help out more people in this journey. So I think that one case study is very personal to me, and I still I think it's what really made me gain momentum in my business.
That's beautiful. I love that. Favorite part of the podcast, the homework. The section is basically dedicated to you giving a small task to the listeners that they could execute on pretty quickly. It could be something that we have discussed on the episode, or it could be something completely different. The floor is all yours. Please give a task that listeners can complete.
Amazing. All right. So my one actionable tip of the day would be, everyone consumes content on different social media platforms. On average, you're spending 3 hours a day consuming content. I want you to put at least 1 hour of that time separate, and remove that time from consuming content to creating content. And it could be on any social media platform. It could be on TikTok, if that's your favorite platform, or Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you're comfortable creating content, start doing that. It's the age of, growing. Personal branding is not a buzzword. It actually has so much impact, and anyone can do it. We all have the time. It's just that we're not willing to dedicate time to it. So I want you to take out at least 1 hour of that time that you're spending on scrolling on TikTok, and start creating content instead. And do that for at least a year and watch your life transform. Trust me, it will definitely transform when you become a creator versus a consumer.
I love that. That's a very good tip. Last question. What's the best way for people to find you if they would like to get in touch?
Yeah, so find me on LinkedIn. As I mentioned, that's my primary platform. That's where I help out everyone else as well. And I'm quite active on the platform. I post about every single day. So you can find my content about personal branding, about growing on LinkedIn very actively. And I hope I'm able to inspire anybody else on pursuing personal branding on the platform through it. And that's the beauty of growing your personal brand. You get to meet so many people. You're putting your thoughts out there consistently. So my entire goal from the start was to build my network, and I think personal branding has done that so beautifully. So if that's the one takeaway anybody would take from this podcast, it would be to start attracting, if you, in order to start attracting opportunities, start building your personal brand.
I could only agree with that because it's definitely, I've seen it on my own journey so far. Fatma, thank you so much for joining us today. I think you've shared a lot of really nice wisdom. Guys, there is a lot more of wisdom on her LinkedIn, so we're tagging the account in the description. Please go follow her. Honestly, you'll learn a ton just through the content, but if you would like to take it to the next level, obviously recommend working with her as a coach as well. And thank you for tuning in today.
Thank you so much for having me, Alia. Lovely speaking to you.